Today is the 30th November 2010. This evening we shall discuss about effort in the practice. Effort is the foundation of every success. Even in the worldly affairs, for example, in career, study, business, if one desires to be successful, one has to put forth effort. Similarly, in the path of Dharma, if one aspires to be successful, one has to put forth effort. So now you are here. It is the right time or right place to put forth effort. If you do not put forth effort now, then it's difficult to know whether you have another opportunity or another chance. Sometimes we need to reflect on certain factors to help us to arouse effort in the practice or in the cultivation of the Dharma. For example, one of the factors that can help us to arouse effort is to contemplate on the danger of falling into the state of loss, or in other words, the apaya world. One may contemplate that if I do not put forth effort in the practice now, if I'm sluggish in my practice, then I may fall into the state of loss again. For example, into hell. One may fall into hungry ghost realms, or the animal world, or the asura world. So in these four states of loss, or in other words, the four apaya world, there's no chance or an opportunity to put forth effort to cultivate the Dharma. So in those states of loss, it's not possible to put forth effort to cultivate the Dharma. Now, in this way life, this is the only opportunity I have to put forth the right effort. Or we may also contemplate that if one doesn't put forth effort, then it's not possible to inherit or to receive these noble treasures, or the treasure of Dharma from the Buddha. So do you know what the Buddha had left for his disciples to inherit? Only those who are energetic will be able to inherit or to receive these 7 kinds of noble treasure, or the treasure of Dharma. So those who are not energetic, or in other words indolence or lazy in the practice, will not able to inherit these 7 kinds of noble treasure. If anyone could inherit these 7 kinds of noble treasure, then this life is a very meaningful life. In other words, one lives a very meaningful life. This life is not wasted. The 7 noble treasures are the first one, or Saddha, or faith or confidence, or in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, or as well as the way or the path or leading to the cessation of suffering, enlightenment. The second noble treasure is sila, or in other words, observance of moral conduct. Then the third noble treasures and the fourth noble treasures are hiri and ottappa, moral shame and moral fear. Then the fifth is sutta. In other words, one possesses a lot of knowledge. Then number 6 is chaga, the practice of generosity, or in other words, willingness to share with others. And the 7th noble wealth is panya, or wisdom. So these are the 2 factors that you may contemplate in order to arouse effort. So effort in the practice is important. As long as effort is not enough, then one will be overpowered by defilements or mental hindrances. So as long as effort is not enough, then one may be overcome by sloth and torpor, restlessness and remorse. In other words, there are these 5 mental hindrances that the meditators have to overcome in order to make progress. They are sense desire or sensual pleasures, the second, ill will, or the third, restlessness and remorse, and the fourth hindrance, sloth and torpor, and the fifth hindrance is doubts. So when the effort is not strong, then meditators would encounter hindrances, for example, restless, sleepiness, drowsiness. So it shows that effort is not enough. So when the effort is not enough, mindfulness will not become constant or continuous and sustained. But when effort is strong enough, we always emphasize that meditators must be endowed with strenuous effort. So when meditators could put forth strenuous effort, then mindfulness will become more and more constant or continuous and sustained. So as you know, the purpose of practicing vipassana meditation is to realize insight knowledge. So vipassana means insight knowledge that realizes the 3 common characteristics of mental and physical phenomena. They are anicca, or impermanence, dukkha, unsatisfactoriness, and anatta, not self, not soul. To realize these 3 common characteristics clearly, meditators have to be mindful of all these mental and physical phenomena as they really are. So to realize these 3 common characteristics clearly, the mindfulness must be attentive, energetic, and precise. So we always emphasize that every movement of mindfulness should be and have these 3 qualities: attentive, energetic, and precise. When we say mindful, it doesn't mean only paying 50% of attention or 70% of attention. um, we can say that mindful means paying 100% of your attention at each moment to each object that is arising at that very moment. So to be able to pay full attention to each object arising at each movement, meditators need to increase the effort gradually. For example, when meditators mindful of the rising movements of the abdomen or the falling movements of the abdomen, meditators must pay full attention to that process of rising, to that process of the falling. And meditators also striving to perceive the process of the movements from the beginning to the middle until the end of the process. When meditators mindful of any object, for example pain, meditators also have to pay full attention to the process of the pain. In other words, at each movement, the mindfulness is only aware of one object or one phenomenon or one process. In other words, we can say that at each movement there are only this pair of processes. One is the mindfulness, usually we call it the noting mind, or in other words the subject, and the other process is the object. So the object can be a mental state or physical process that is arising at that very present moment. Sometimes meditators may perceive more than one object or 2-3 phenomena arising at the same moment. So meditators should be mindful of the most dominant phenomenon, or in other words, the most distinct object at that moment. If there are two different phenomena arising at the same time, for example, one is a mental state, the other is a physical process, then meditators should give priority to the mental state. It's because meditation is mental culture or mental development. So that's why mindful of the mental states or mindful of the mental phenomena is important.
ด้วยสาเหตุที่แนะนำอย่างนี้ก็เพราะว่าการเจริญกรรมฐานนั้นก็เป็นงานของการพัฒนาจิตนั่นเองเพราะฉะนั้นจึงให้ความสำคัญกับสภาวธรรมทางจิตมากกว่าสภาวธรรมทางกายในกรณีนี้
If you have if the mind is still restless, has a lot of thinking, then it shows that meditators have not yet put forth enough effort to mindful and note. For example, if meditators could not perceive the movements of the foot, for example, lifting, pushing, dropping, attentively, energetically and precisely, then the mind would be wandering here and there. So when the effort is not enough, then meditators would also slow to mindful and note the mental states, or such as thinking, planning, or daydreaming, and so on. So in this vipassana meditation, mindfulness meditation, mindful of every mental state is the first important factor to make progress. If meditators are able to mindful of every mental state instantly, precisely, then meditators will find that their mindfulness becomes stronger, sharper. Actually, the mind is very near you. The mind is very near you. The nearest things to you is your mind. If your mindfulness is very alert, you could perceive the arising of mental states instantly. But if your mind is very far away from you, you may not know the arising of the mental states. When we have effort, the mind becomes alert. Then, when this alertness, meditators could perceive the arising of the phenomena instantly or immediately. Then it's because of that effort, meditators could be mindful of any phenomenon or any process as it really occurs. So when meditators have effort and the mindfulness can be sustained by that effort, then mindfulness becomes more and more constant, continuous and sustained. So in other words, mindfulness should be sustained by the effort. Then only that the mindfulness becomes more and more attentive or energetic and precise. So that energetic, attentive and precise mindfulness should be sustained from moment to moment. Then in that way, the concentration will also becomes deeper and deeper. So in order to have constant, continuous and sustained mindfulness, then mindfulness of daily activities is important. If there's a lot of gaps and big gaps in the mindfulness of daily activities, then it's not possible that the mindfulness will become more attentive or energetic and precise. In order to have constant and continuous and sustained mindfulness, it's also important that meditators training themselves to slow down more and more day by day. So from the early morning, at the moment of waking up until one falls into sleep in the evening, meditators should train themselves to develop mindfulness from moment to moment. To be successful in the practice, especially in the mindfulness of daily activities, meditators also need a lot of initiative. When you have the initiative and the interest and desire to make progress, then you could be mindful of more and more movements, actions. So when you have the initiative, interest in the practice, desire to make progress, then you also would make an effort to mindful of the movements in more and more detail. For example, when you want to lift up the hand to take something, you have to be mindful of this lifting process in more and more detail. For example, mindful and noting lifting a few times or as many times as possible. When you put down slowly, or putting down, perceiving the actual process of the movements. Sometimes meditators may have forgotten to mindful or note any movements. One other way is to repeat that movements or actions. When you repeat those actions that you have forgotten, then in future you could always be mindful. In other words, remember to mindful. If meditators do not have a sati or mindful, then he always becomes forgetful. So the word sati also has the meaning of remember not forgetting. So in order not to be forgetful, you have to put forth mental effort and always live in the present moment. So in this case, we may learn from some of the senior monk how the way of striving to attain enlightenment.
A senior monk.
In this case, we may learn from some of the senior monk in the commentaries or the way of their striving to attain enlightenment. For example, there was this Mahatera, since taking up his subjects of meditations, he never forget about his subject of meditations. When he went to the village to collect alms food, he would be mindful of his walking or stepping. Sometimes he walked a few steps, then he came to realize that he was unmindful of these few steps. Then he mindfully walked back to the steps where he lost the mindfulness. Then he walk mindfully again, or be mindful of movements or the stepping or left, right, and so on. So he was repeating those steps that he had forgotten to mindful. So the people in the village were very surprised to see him doing that. They thought this Mahatera may have lost something or lost his way. But he ignored the people in the village. He just he was keeping doing his duty. So similarly, the meditators here may also imitate this way of Mahatera. For example, when you go down to the dining hall or to take your breakfast, lunch, you should try to go to the dining hall with 100% mindfulness. If you are unmindful on any steps, then you repeat those steps. So are you able to do that? Or are you willing to take out this challenge? Or when you come for interview, you should do the same thing. So in that way, that Mahatera eventually striving for many years, then he achieved his spiritual goal. He attained the final stage of enlightenment. So the second factor to make progress is a constant, continuous, and sustained mindfulness, especially in the mindfulness of daily activities. Then the third factors and the fourth factors are sitting meditation and walking meditations. So this effort is not an ordinary effort. So in the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, the Buddha used the word ardent. For example, dwells contemplating the body in the body, ardent, clearly comprehending and mindful, and so on. So the word ardent in Pali is known as atapi. So atapi means those who are endowed with this effort, this type of effort, ardent effort. So the word atapi comes from the word atapa. Atapa means the heat of the sun. When the heat of the sun is so strong, then it can heat up anything. So, for example, the leaves of the tree wither, or become dry. So in other words, heat the heat is so strong that it can even burn up anything. So in other words, so similarly, when the effort is that strong, or its effort is very strong, it's also this effort would heat up the mental defilements or burns them away. But if the effort is not strong enough, then it's not possible to burn the defilement. Then instead of burn the defilements away, once will be burned by the defilements. So we should also learn from the Bodhisattva. So before the Bodhisattva attain the Sammasambuddha, become a Sammasambuddha or attain the Buddhahood, he make these resolutions or determinations. So the Bodhisattva make these resolutions, may my skin or sinews and bones remain, and may my flesh and blood dry up, but I will not give up this superhuman effort until I reach Buddhahood. I will not get up from this seat until I reach Buddhahood. I shall make every effort to achieve my aim. So one has to be endowed with superhuman effort. It's not an ordinary human effort. So such effort is known as right effort. So right effort is one of the factors in the Noble Eightfold Path. So when you have this right effort, then you have the effort to prevent defilements or mental hindrances from arising. Then you have the effort to abandon whatever defilements that have arisen. Then you have the effort to develop the wholesome mental factors, for example, mindfulness. Then when you have effort, you could also have the effort to sustain whatever wholesome states that has arisen, you could sustain. So it's not only effort to sustain, but you also make it growing or increasing. So these are the four right effort, or effort to prevent, or effort to abandon, or effort to develop, effort to sustain. So when you have the effort to develop this mindfulness and to sustain it, then it's not possible for defilements to arise. It's not possible for mental hindrances to arise. So in other words, when the mindfulness becomes more and more constant or continuously sustained, then defilements or hindrances will become less and less. But when there's a gap between the mindfulness, so there's a time that the defilements or hindrance could arise in the gap. So when the effort is not enough, then it's not possible to abandon the defilements. So in a wider sense, effort to prevent, it also means effort to prevent oneself from committing evil. So one needs effort to prevent oneself, to restrain oneself from committing evil, such as telling lies or taking what's not given. One would prevent oneself from dwelling on the thoughts of sensual pleasures or thoughts of harming or thoughts of cruelty when one has enough effort or when one has the right effort. Similarly, in the wider sense, effort to abandon also means effort not to commit whatever unwholesome actions again, or whatever unwholesome deeds one had done in the past, one determined not to commit again. Then, in the ultimate sense, effort to abandon means to abandon the mental defilements and karma. So, to abandon the mental defilements, one has to put forth strenuous effort so that the mindfulness becomes more and more constant, continuous and sustained. So when the mindfulness becomes constant, continuous and sustained, then concentration will become deeper and deeper. When concentration is deep enough, meditators may come to gain some experience or insight knowledge. The concentration that Vipassana meditators need to attain is known as momentary concentration or Khanika Samadhi. So when meditators attain momentary concentrations, meditators come to realize that every phenomenon, mental state or physical process is always arising and passing away instantly. So when meditators could realize these three common characteristics of all the mental states and physical process clearly, then meditators would make progress from one stage of insight knowledge to next stage. So eventually, meditators attained or realized all the four stages of path knowledge. So when meditators realize the four stages of path knowledge, defilements will be eradicated or uprooted by the path knowledge. So when defilements have been uprooted, then meditators also attain or cessation of suffering, cessation of karma. In other words, meditators or the noble ones who have realized the four stages of path knowledge will abandon the karma totally. So the noble ones will abandon unwholesome karma, evil karma. In other words, you will never commit any unwholesome karma. Unwholesome, yes. The noble one will never commit any unwholesome karma, evil karma. So then the noble one, such as the Arahant or Samma Sambuddha, only have the kriya to do wholesome doing. So the noble one will continue to do all of wholesome deeds, or especially the teaching or preaching of Dharma. But that wholesome doing we cannot call karma. If it's karma, then there will be results, then there will be future birth again. So it's because the ignorance had been uprooted. When ignorance is uprooted, other defilements also uprooted. Other defilements such as craving for existence is also uprooted. So the best effort is the effort in this present life to abandon defilements and karma. So that's why it is not a good effort if one always go back to the past. If one always go back to the past, recollects whatever unwholesome deeds that one had done in the past, this is not the right effort. When one recollects the past unwholesome deeds, one feels more remorse, then it also increases the unwholesome states. Those past unwholesome deeds will not become undone. So the best is that one make an effort to abandon the unwholesome karma. One determine not to do it in the future. So to abandon unwholesome karma, one must make an effort to abandon the mental defilements. It's because defilements such as ignorance or craving, clinging, is the cause of unwholesome deeds or unwholesome karma. So to abandon mental defilements, one has to develop or cultivate wholesome mental factors. So wholesome mental factors such as mindfulness, loving kindness, compassion, concentration, and so on. But to remove the root of defilements, of the latent defilements, one has to develop insight, knowledge, or wisdoms. And to develop insight, knowledge, or wisdoms, one has to take up Satipatthana meditations, or the four foundations of mindfulness. So one must have effort to develop this mindfulness constantly, continuously, and sustain it as long as possible. So effort to develop it also includes effort to do any wholesome deeds that one has not yet done before. So it's not only doing once, we have to do it constantly, continuously. If one does not put constant effort in doing good, sooner or later defilements may arise again. So just like the farmers, before the farmers want to plant any vegetables, fruits, the farmers must remove the weeds or the wild grass of the farm. And then the farmers only begin to plant the vegetables or fruits and put fertilizers and so on. Then the farmers still have to continue to keep an eye on the farm. If any weeds or wild grass is growing up, he would remove it immediately. Similarly, meditators also have to keep up a constant effort, sustained effort, so that the mindfulness will become constant, continuous, and sustained. So in that way, defilements, hindrances cannot arise. Even if there's a arising of defilements or hindrance, meditators could remove it immediately. To be successful in the practice, patience also important. When patience, especially being patient with pain or physical discomfort or numbness, stiffness, and so on. So when there's a pain, meditators should be patient with it and be mindful and know it attentively or precisely. The location of the pain or any physical discomfort is not important. The most important is to perceive that painful sensation as it is. When meditators mindful of the painful sensation or any physical discomfort, then there's mental reaction arising. For example, aversion, then meditators should mindful of the aversion as it is until the aversion disappear. Or when there's a desire arising to change or shift the sitting positions or to move the legs, then meditators have to be mindful of that desire and note desire until the desire disappear. When the pain or the physical discomfort becomes unbearable, then meditators may stand up and practice walking meditation again. So it's also important to have determination or to sit longer and longer. If there's no determination, then meditators may change the postures from sitting to walking as and when they like it. When there's a painful sensation, meditators have to mindful of the pain as it is. Meditators should not practice metta or loving kindness towards that painful sensations. Sometimes when you read certain Dharma books, they may say that meditators must have loving kindness towards the pain.
Loving kindness towards the pain.
Sometimes when in some Dharma books, they say that one must have loving kindness towards the pain. Actually, the actual meaning is that not dwell on aversion towards the pain. Meditators learn to accept it and come to face with the pain. This is the way of mindfulness, learning come to face with the pain or with the reality. So the way of mindfulness is quite straightforward. So at this moment, meditators learn to be mindful of the pain or physical discomfort as it is. So this is about the effort in the practice. So the best effort is just like the resolution made by the Bodhisattva. So one would not give up the practice easily. So I wish that all meditators are endowed with this right effort or striving diligently to develop this wholesome factor of mindfulness that will lead you to realize various stages of insight knowledge and finally enlightenment.
กราบพระอาจารย์ค่ะ